at Devoxx Belgium, and I'm talking to Mark Reinhold, who again needs no introduction.
Hello.
Hello. So you gave the keynote about Java 9, which, thank you, by the way, for the release of Java 9, and congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very happy that it's out there.
So one of the things that you mentioned, and one of the big topics at the moment, is the version numbers and the new release cadence.
Every 6 months.
So we're now looking at Java 10 in 6 months, and then...
We're in about 4.5, I think.
Oh, 4.5, sorry.
In March.
So I'm thinking back from, I'm starting the clock from September.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next long-term support release of Java is 11.
Right.
So
and 9 is not a long-term support release.
So why is it important that people adopt is it important for people to go through every version of Java to upgrade each time a new version is released, or do you think people should follow the release cadence?
I think it depends on how you're using Java. If you're using Java in a way that you package up a runtime, maybe using JLink, the Java linker, to make a custom runtime image with your application, then using the very latest feature release makes a lot of sense. If you're in a more traditional enterprise deployment kind of scenario where you've got an app server and a shared Java runtime that's shared across many applications, then it could make better sense to only deploy the long-term support releases. But even in that situation where you're only going to migrate these big complex production systems once every 3 years, I think it's still critical that you test with every feature release, even if you don't deploy it. We will in feature releases deprecate things. We will deprecate something for removal and remove it in the next one. We're not going to wait until the next LTS. Otherwise, we won't have solved some of the problems we set up to solve with this model. So,
as well as testing with each version, should people be concerned that there are shorter support models for the more minor versions of Java?
So the thing about the support models to understand is what I proposed is mainly around what I think makes sense in the OpenJDK community, where many contributors, not just from Oracle, come together to evolve the JDK. It might be that contributors in the OpenJDK community decide to do something even longer term than what I've suggested. Maybe somebody decides to come up and volunteer to do 5 years of support on every single feature release. Is that likely? Probably not, but it could happen. It all depends on who shows up. So that's one side of the support model story as far as there isn't. The real support comes, if you really want support, then guess what? You need to pay for somebody for it. And maybe you pay Oracle, maybe you pay Red Hat, maybe you pay some other company that provides builds based on OpenJDK, maybe you pay IBM, whatever. That's where the real support comes from. And Oracle, at least, if you are willing to pay enough, will support you for essentially forever. Support is not something trivial. It's not zero effort. It actually takes quite a lot of effort to maintain an old code line. I think it makes sense for everybody contributing in OpenJDK to agree on what makes sense in the context of OpenJDK as the upstream of practically every other JDK in the world. But then we all need to understand that there will be paid support offerings from many different places. And if that's what you need, then you should be compensating somebody for it.
And finally, you spoke in the keynote about it works fine on Java 9.
Yes.
So you were talking about Java 9 adoption. Are there any libraries that people will find that they can't use the Java 9, or is it generally the consensus that people should move to Java 9 and not be afraid that their favorite library will break?
So there probably are some libraries that still don't work on 9. I don't know offhand what they are. But what I did show in the keynote was a list I generated by asking on Twitter, just a few days after Java 9 shipped. I asked on Twitter, if you maintain a library framework or tool that works on JDK 9 today, please tweet it and along with the version number, and I compiled the list, and it's a long list. I mean, what I showed on that slide is just part of the list. It's just the highlights of the things that are really popular. But it includes all the IDEs. It includes TestNG and JUnit, all the build systems. and many, many popular libraries. It includes the entire Spring framework. So we've been really pleased that a lot of people have proactively looked at their code, made usually the small number of changes that are necessary to work on Java 9, and published that. So I think there's already a good a good wave of migration happening, and hopefully a lot more will follow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.